Everybody who's joining this call today. Before I talk about the issue we're here to talk about today in today's roundtable, I do want to briefly address what is happening across the Atlantic. What we are witnessing right now is a peaceful nation, the Ukrainian people, who are being plunged into a very deadly and devastating war because of the cruel ambition of one dictator. Make no mistake, the death and destruction of this conflict will lie solely at the feet of Vladimir Putin. Now, this conflict is a totally fabricated event, but its human toll is going to be very real. So swift measures must be taken to inflict severe and devastating sanctions, as the president just outlined. Russia has to pay a crippling price for invading a sovereign democracy unprovoked. This is a time for our country and the world to stand united in strong support of Ukraine and firmly against Putin and his cronies. So today, I just want to say I am really thinking of my constituents, with friends and family and loved ones in Ukraine. And my heart really is with the Ukrainian people who only want peace and are being forced to endure this really brutal war. And I want them to know I will continue to do everything in my power to make sure the United States is doing its utmost to support the Ukrainian people. And with that, I will begin this roundtable. And again, thanks so much to Paul and Jamie and Tom and Allison for joining me here today to talk about a really important topic. We all know how important the American Rescue Plan and other federal COVID relief has been for all of our state and Eastern and Central Washington restaurant owners during this pandemic. But today I wanted to hear about some of the challenges that our restaurant owners are still facing. And I want to talk about what I am fighting for in Congress to make sure that small business owners, like the ones joining us today, can be made whole. I think it goes without saying that the past 2 years have been extremely hard on all of us. When COVID hit suddenly, businesses were forced to close, millions of Americans suddenly did not have jobs, and so many people in our state were left wondering how they were going to make ends meet. And over the past 2 years, I have heard from so many restaurant and small business owners like the ones here today about the unique challenges they have faced. I've heard about the struggles they've encountered trying to get through this crisis and keep their doors open, everything from keeping workers on the payroll to navigating the ongoing challenges of our supply chain. So I'm doing everything I can at the federal level to help let workers and small business owners know I've got your back. Last March, almost a year ago now, I helped pass the American Rescue Plan, and it really has served as a really crucial lifeline to many people in our state. Among a lot, that bill designated more than $28 billion to establish a restaurant revitalization fund to provide restaurant owners with the financial support they needed to rehire those workers and deal with the continued effects of COVID-19. And thanks to these and other programs I pushed to include in the American Rescue Plan and other relief packages, more than 3,500 Washington state businesses have altogether received over $9 billion in federal loans and grants and debt relief since this pandemic started. Not to mention the millions more in flexible relief that local governments used to help their local small businesses. But while it is great to see the American Rescue Plan continue to make recovery possible for restaurant and small business owners in our state, there is a lot more that needs to be done. Too many small business owners are still struggling, and for many, funds ran dry before they were able to get relief. Our restaurants are often the heart of their community. Making these businesses whole is really a critical part of our recovery for this economy. But it's also important to preserving what makes Spokane, Spokane, or Yakima, Yakima, which is exactly why I'm now a co-sponsor of the Bipartisan Restaurant Revitalization Fund, Replenishment Act, mouthful for sure, but this is a bill that would not only cover all existing applications, by providing another $48 billion in additional federal aid, but also help hard to reach businesses and communities apply. Because I really want to make sure that we're actually helping small businesses, not giant corporations who don't need it. So we are now negotiating a small bipartisan small business relief package. And this bill is top priority for me. And look, I understand the challenges small business owners are still dealing with. They're varied and they're complicated. Increased costs from inflation, shortages of everything from straws to chicken wings, hard time finding wait staff and cooks, and a lot more, which is why I'm really working hard in the other Washington on a lot of different pieces to keep building a strong economy for every small business and every family in the state. Supply chains and inflation are major challenges we're focused on. And the bipartisan infrastructure law that we helped to pass is already getting money out to communities that will help to strengthen those supply chains and make sure goods are getting where they need to go. I'm also fighting to pass major legislation this Congress that is fully paid for, by the way, that lowers costs for everyday families, whether it's saving families thousands of dollars a year on childcare or lowering prescription drugs. Actually, the federal child care proposal I've authored would do a lot to help address some of the workforce issues and labor issues that our restaurant owners are facing. And as I'm working to get those things done in the Senate, conversations like the one we're having today are really important to me, because hearing the stories of people who are on the front lines dealing with this helps me back in the other Washington make sure we pass legislation that actually works. So I really appreciate all the folks who have joined us today to share your story of what's happened with your business and what we need to be doing. So thank you so much. And let me start with Paul.
Well, before I begin, Senator Murray, I want to just thank you for your comments on Ukraine. I fulfilled over 30 combat deployments in my previous life, well over a decade in Afghanistan, Iraq, and Africa. So your comments are well received by me, and I'm very thankful. So I wanted to share that. So at the onset of COVID, the former Yakima Training Center, Colonel Gavrila, kind of shepherded an informal group meetings between Yakima-based restaurateurs, wholesalers, community members, and that was just to discuss the challenges and the obstacles that we were facing early on when COVID reared its head. And our group is composed now of well over 40 restaurants and wholesalers throughout the state. And what I'd like to take a moment to, in particular, thank Raquel Crowley, who was very critical for us initially in our ability to focus our actions, whether that was with liaisoning with Yakima Health District, Department of Health for COVID-centric mitigation, as well as assisting those persons within our group and others to go to specific accountancy firms at no cost to assist them in the application for funding requests. That was very critical. Now, at the moment, and I'm very grateful you said this, we see that a lot of the long-term results of COVID over the last 2 years has absolutely affected our supply chain. And in our opinion, is one of the root causes for the inflationary costs that we're seeing now that we haven't seen in decades. And we do believe the Biden administration is actually addressing those root components. And we're very thankful and hopeful that this is just going to be temporary. So that's what we feel. Now, as a group, we're very thankful to welcome the opportunity to present what we think are some possible courses of action for you to review. And after just hearing your speech just moments ago, it actually falls in line, which is what we were going to suggest, which is possibly expanding the qualification criteria for those restaurants and businesses that previously maybe did not qualify for previous funding. What I'd like to do is, for my remaining time, is to thank you, Senator Murray, and in particular, the assistance that was provided by your office earlier this summer when we were approached by Afghans wanting to get repatriated out of Kabul. Your actions and the particular part of your team was instrumental in saving families and bringing people out of that country. And today, the only request I have was from our group to say, please, please, please continue to thank Senator Murray and her working team. Today, our informal group, we've morphed into a nonprofit organization. Business owners, educators, veterans, community members, and we are actually focusing in on repatriation and resettlement. We now see it's probably going to expand beyond Afghanistan. And we're very thankful for the actions your team has taken, Senator Murray. There are families that are safe now because of you and your team's efforts. And we look forward to being able to continue to collaborate with your office and your team and to share with you our current actions and our successes and our requests for support going forward. And with that, that's about my time. And I guess I turn it over to Tom. Is that right?
Thank you, Paul. Hi, Senator Murray. Thank you so much for meeting with us and being our voice and also lending your ear to what we've been doing over the last couple of years. You know, we all went into COVID thinking we'd be back to work within 3 months. It's still very etched in my mind the day that we closed down in March of 2020 and we emptied thousands of dollars of product, gave it to crew, and closed our doors and not really knowing what was going to happen next. We've had many false starts, reopening, 25% occupancy, 50% occupancy, and really just kind of rolling with it and reinventing our business as we had to. You know, at this stage of the pandemic, I think we all thought that we would be farther ahead than we are. There's still a lot of uncertainty. And, you know, we're a very established business. We're 16 years, and I can only imagine how difficult it is for businesses trying to get a foothold in and trying to start off. I mean, you know, I was talking with my business partner yesterday, and we had the discussion that, you know, if this happened 7 years ago, we probably wouldn't have made it. The cost of a higher end restaurant, there's just such razor thin margins. And so we have, at this point in time, we were very fortunate. We had a majority, almost all our staff return. So staffing has not been a particular issue. What we're really seeing right now is the supply chain, and more than that, just the cost of goods. You know, we look at ourselves as a locally sourced restaurant, and what we've had to do is we've had to go outside. We're having to shop online. We're scrambling. We've had to print menus in-house because we can't commit to a menu because we just don't know where the supply chain is going to be. But as you're aware, you know, restaurants really do have, I said, such small, slim margins that we have to get very creative in just where product's coming from and if it's going to be here tomorrow. But we're also seeing things, you know, as gas prices go up, we see surcharges on deliveries, and it's just this steady erosion of our bottom line. And so we've been very fortunate. The PPP loans and stuff that we've been lucky enough to receive have been our lifeline and have kept our doors open, allow our staff to come back. And so really it's it's just the uncertainty of what's going to happen next. We think we're going to be removing masks on the 21st of next month, but then you read in the paper that there's another variant coming along. So it's worrisome because our restaurants are so very vulnerable to all these ups and downs. So really what I see more than anything else is the runaway inflation, the price of products coming in, and we can't raise prices in accordance with that. We can't do that and compete in the business at all. We can't raise our prices every time chicken goes up, you know, $3 a pound. And so we've had to get more creative, but we spend a lot more time running around and looking for bulk purchases and I said, shopping online and things like that, which we prefer not to do.
Okay. Thank you for that.
Yeah. So, you know, and like I said, we did receive the PPP loans, which we're very fortunate for. We did apply for the restaurant revitalization, which we it just missed that. I think when that portal opened, we were right in there with it. So it would be very welcome to see that. And it's just to have that little bit of an edge and take the stress off, you know. knowing that you've got a little bit more of a backup and not incurring more debt. Because you kind of think every time you take out a line of credit or borrow more money, you in the back of your mind, it's like, well, business will take off again and we'll repay that. So it's a leap of faith as we borrow more money and access lines of credits that we're fortunate to have. But there is that in the back of your mind, will this ever end?
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Tom.
Thank you. We thank you for your support, Senator Murray. Thank you.
Yeah. Allison.
Hello. Am I on?
We can hear you.
I'm not very good with this technology, so bear with me. Okay, good. So a lot of what Tom said resonates with me. We have a vegan, gluten-free bakery in Spokane. We have not closed since the pandemic shut down. We just pivoted to takeout. So that was fortunate for us to be able to do that. Although takeout, as you know, is a lot more expensive because you're trying to buy all these things you can't find. So the supply chain issue is huge for us. We're gluten-free, like I said. To find out that we cannot purchase tapioca flour from anyone puts us dead in the water. So like Tom mentioned, we just spend hours and hours trying to source these things, and they're far more expensive than they were, a few weeks ago. So when we shut down, we let all of our staff go, not go, we paid them and they were just on hold. We didn't know what we were gonna do. We have 2 high school girls. So it was my husband and myself and our 2 high school girls who were doing school online, running the bakery. So we're working 7 days a week, and our kids had to be here too because we're a small business. And so obviously that was not good for them, but got us through. We have staff back now. We don't have staffing issues, like Tom said. All of our staff who want to be here are here, but the uncertainty of it is where we're struggling. Like, I don't know. I never know what our PARs are. I never know. Oh, it's gangbuster weekend, because about 4 months ago, we opened up for dine-in. We require proof of vaccine and masks for dine-in. We're one of like 3 businesses in this town, and I can assure you that's not a fun spot to be in. We get haters and arguers, and I don't know. It's hard, and it always every time I bring it up, it just makes me teary because I don't want people to not like us. We're just trying to be safe. So I guess looking forward, I don't believe that we're done. Each time I believe that we're moving in a positive direction, we're not. We're just keeping our heads down and marching on. We appreciate what you're doing on your end to help us out.